Hi, my name is KristyBishop. I'm a textile artist in Charleston, South Carolina. I work primarily in natural dyes, and that's what my partnership with Engaging Creative Minds is focused on. I do two main lessons with the students. My first one is using indigo and a fabric technique called shibori, which is a Japanese tie-dye technique. Indigo and the color blue is a color that has enthralled the world, and luckily here in Charleston we have a very strong history with it. And with Eliza Lucas Pinckney bringing indigo cultivation to Charleston, South Carolina, and having its golden age for about 50 years in the 1700s. So I like to use this as a way to be creative and have a finished art project, but also integrating it into South Carolina history. So the project is all of this blue in front. Right here is indigo that I've dyed. And this is mostly cotton and linen. But the students each get about a 12 by 12 piece of white cotton muslin, and they'll do at least 2 pieces. And what's interesting is your folding is multiple folding techniques, but this is just 1 out of 3 that I teach. So you fold the fabric small, and you can do any shape. The student can do any shape that they want, and it yields a different pattern every single time. So it's really fun. It usually has a really good outcome. The students really enjoy it, and it's, I think, a really great art project because it has historical value and also is talking about other cultures that aren't associated with South Carolina, but we're still linked in this way of indigo. And the outcome, the piece that they have, it's a really great way to be creative and show students that they can be creative, but not necessarily have to learn how to draw or something more traditional art techniques. That's what I really get out of it. But so this would be dyed in the indigo, and then pulled out several times. We would go through the indigo process, and they unfold it and have this beautiful pattern similar to all these up here. So this one was folded and clamped with wooden slats. This one was folded in a different way, all with different wooden objects. But you can also wrap with yarn and polyester string. I use wrapping around PVC pipe, all sorts of different techniques that create different patterns. So in addition to the historical value of indigo and just the basic artistic value of it, I also go into the chemistry of it, and that is where I lead into more natural dyes. Because natural dye is basically, it's a lot of chemistry and science. So my lesson with that is very scientific oriented and not necessarily finished product based. So the students, their final product is recipe cards. So they're learning about the scientific process and variables and constants, but using natural dyes as a facilitator to that. So for example, they would have the recipe card, and they would choose 2 constants and 1 variable. And depending on the age group, I'll give them more freedom, but I like to start out pretty strict at first and gauge how the class is. So this one, for example, is the constant is that all 4 of these are silk chiffon. The second constant is they are all dyed with goldenrod, which is a local plant that I gather, and indigo. The variable is time, so how long these were dipped in the goldenrod and the indigo. So time is the variable for this example. This one, the constant is the dye is avocado skins, and the other constant is a mordant, which is a substance that binds the dye to the fabric permanently. The variable is the material. So this one is raw silk, and this one is silk dupioni. So you can see they take the color pretty similarly, and it's a way of keeping record. This one, the constant is the dye again, which is yellow onion skins. And I have the same constant, which is no mordant. And then the variable again is the fabric. So this is silk twill, then I've got silk chiffon, and then I've got linen underneath. And they all actually take the dye very differently. Just slight variations in tone, but it's a really nice comparison. And then these I usually show as examples of these are my own personal fabrics that I dye for my artwork. But you can see all the different variations in color. This is all indigo and goldenrod again. This is walnut hulls. I also dye yarn and for weaving. This is cochineal, which is a bug. And I show them that, and we work on that in class. So the students, I think what they're really getting out of it is they're learning to be organized and make decisions on their own based in this like methodical process. Because working in dyes, I think, really relates to science in that way. Like you have to make your own decisions, come up with a hypothesis, and they're logging in the results. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're, sometimes the students really like the colors they get, and then sometimes their choices they made, I guess, would make that tiny experiment a failure. But as in science, the failures are just as important as the successes. They're not as exciting or gratifying, but it allows the student to know that, okay, next time I'm not going to do that because that combination of factors did not work. Whereas other ones that did work and they like the color, they can repeat that process based on the results that they logged on their recipe cards. I think this is a really good lesson plan for all ages because it's multidisciplinary. It applies to many different levels of science and history. It applies to world history, local history. It engages them with critical thinking and decision making, and all-encompassing, this is a way for them to connect to history and science through a very tactile, physical way, and seeing the results of using items from nature that yield color that have an incredible link to human history. They are learning about new plants that grow around Charleston and ones that are found worldwide and traditionally used in textile dyeing. And using a scientific method with it forces them to be creative in their decision making, but also think critically about what they're doing and logging their results. And I look forward to teaching this and continue developing this program with engaging creative minds. Thank you.